Hello, and welcome to episode 15 of the Liberland Show. I'm your host, Adam J. Carswell. Today we are joined by Conrad Freeman. Conrad is the Liberland representative of Spain. Conrad, thank you for joining us today. And do you have any opening remarks for our listeners?
Well, thanks, Adam. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for creating this podcast. I've been listening to the episodes, and they're very interesting, and getting to know a lot of people in Liberland a lot better just by listening to your podcast. There's some people that I hadn't met that you've interviewed, and I've enjoyed that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're doing our best to spread it like wildfire, and we'll see where it goes. Who knows? Maybe your episode could be the lucky one that sets that fire ablaze.
Well, let's see. We'll hope so. Then what would you like to talk about first?
Yeah, Conrad, how did you begin your journey as a Liberlandian?
Well, I found out about Liberland within the first week of President Vitya declaring independence and on some different websites. And I immediately went to Liberland.org and applied for citizenship, and I didn't receive any messages. And so I was wondering what was going on. And then there was some later on, about a week or so later, there was another interview saying that the website was just completely flooded, that they had the first week around 500,000 people sign up, or 300,000 the first month or so, I think it was. So I signed up, and I got a little email saying that you're now registered. And a few months later, Vitya was going on a world tour trying to get recognition. And I saw that he was in Madrid, and that the Students for Liberty had organized a meetup in Barcelona. And I looked on Facebook, and I saw that he was there in Facebook, and I added him as a friend, and I reached out to him, and he was pretty responsive. I was pretty surprised. So while he was in Madrid, I said, I'm looking forward to meeting you in Barcelona. And we got in a little conversation, and he told me that he was having trouble getting a hotel at such short notice in Barcelona. And long story short, I offered for him and his personal assistant to stay at my flat here in Barcelona. He came over, and I got a good chance to speak to and get to know him a bit better. And I went to the meetup and offered to help. And then later on, he called me to be the representative of Spain.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty remarkable way to start your journey, hosting the president at your house for the night.
Yeah. Well, I set up the presidential suite.
Yes, you literally did. And speaking of meetups in Barcelona, Madrid, just in Spain in general, from what I've observed, there seems to be a lot of Liberland activity in Spain. You guys have a quite frequent amount of meetups throughout the year. Is there any coming up soon, or is that something?
There is. There's quite a bit of interest here, and people are really excited. We've done a few, but we're looking to do more. I think I just sat down with some of the staff here, and we are planning for 2019 to do one in Barcelona, one in Madrid every month, and then a few extra around in other cities. We're looking to do one in Mallorca with the Bitcoin conference that's coming up. And also, there's quite a few people that applied for citizenship in Bilbao. And so I just checked just now, and we're over 3,000 people who have requested citizenship in Spain.
Wow.
And it's growing quite a bit. And so we're having trouble reaching out to all these people. I know in the United States, there's probably even more. So Spain's a country of a little over 40 million people. I think there's 3,000 is pretty good.
And so in order to keep our ear to the wire on what's going on in Spain, maybe more details on those meetups, is there a Facebook page or some way that anyone listening can check up on it?
There is. We set up Liberland España is the main Facebook page, and we also we set up the Liberland Society of Catalonia we set that up in November, and we'll be setting up the Liberland Society of Madrid, and then another one will be the Liberland Society of Iberia that'll cover the whole Iberian Peninsula. And also there's one in Tenerife where Pavel was living, where there was quite an active community there.
Well, it would be hard to miss. It'd be hard to miss any of those pages on Facebook from what it sounds like. So thank you for sharing that. Everyone go ahead and take a look at it. Can you tell us now, Conrad, maybe about a unique experience that you've had personally since becoming a Liberlandian?
Well, probably the most unique experience was that what was coming back last year, well, actually it was 2017. He was coming back from Costa Rica and going back to Czech Republic. And Barcelona is kind of a hub for anywhere from America to for flights from America to the Czech Republic, and he was going to stop by. And his secretary called me, and she said, "Oh, he's going to stop by. Do you want to come down for a meet and greet?" I thought, well, he was coming in, getting a connecting flight, and I think there was like a 3-hour layover, and I thought, I'll have to go all the way out to Barcelona Airport's kind of out of the city. He'll have to land, taxi. He'll have to go outside of the airport because he can't go in, and then we could talk for 5 minutes, and then he'd have to go through security again, and he might even miss his flight. So I thought, well, why don't you have him stay over, and we can set up some meetings here with the media or some local politicians, and then he can catch a flight out. And so she went and checked, and there was another flight going out the next day. And so I was able to take the day off. This was like on a Monday, and he was coming on Thursday. And I made a few phone calls, just a couple of phone calls. And then all of a sudden we had a full agenda meeting, radio show, and there was a TV interview.
Wow.
And there was another contact that we had that set up a meeting with the president of the local Catalonian government, and all within a couple of days. And everybody was really excited to speak to him and to learn about this new country, and because it really is an interesting story, and it's something that's never been done before. So I think that's my most unique experience. This last April, I was supposed to go to the anniversary, and I had my ticket and everything, but I got deathly ill the night before I was supposed to fly out. And so I was a little bit upset about that. But this year, I'm planning for some more unique experiences. I'm planning on going this year to the anniversary and actually be in Liberland.
Great. Yeah, and I kind of like that story because it shows the power of the idea of Liberland, how polarizing it really is. And how if you are, if you're connected with the right people, as you mentioned, if you just make a few phone calls, next thing you know, you got a nice little paparazzi there.
Well, people are really excited about the message. Even so, whenever I talk about it, everybody wants to know more. There's definitely a need for a country like Liberland to exist, and everyone I've talked to has been very open. It's been a very positive experience, and people get very, very excited very quickly and very easily when talking about Liberland. So that's been a fun ride so far, and I'm looking forward to see where this is going.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thank you for being one of our early patriots and getting the country established. Can you tell us a little bit more, Conrad, about your professional background, and maybe even also a little bit about who you really are, where you come from?
Okay, well, a little bit of my personal background. I'm a voluntarist, and I have been ever since my first year in university, and I grew up in probably one of the most terrible places in the world, upstate New York. If I were living there now, it would be frozen. So I'm happy to be in Barcelona now. I work in finances, and I'm also a part-time musician on evenings and weekends, and I play local venues. And this month, I'm going to the studio, and I'm going to record my first EP, and I'm looking to make that EP into a full album by the end of the year.
Wow. Okay. Are you going to be on? I'm a Spotify guy, so you think it's going to be on Spotify?
I will definitely be on Spotify. Probably not for a couple of months, so we have to record and mix and master. But that will be out soon.
Is it is the band name Conrad and the Anarcho-Capitalists, or Conrad and the Voluntarists?
It's just Conrad Freeman.
Okay.
My band is the Conrad Freeman Band.
Cool. So are you? I think I've seen pictures of you. I want to say on Facebook or something. You play guitar and sing. You just
sing? And I play harmonica, and I'm not really a protest singer. I think every musician is an anarchist, pro-freedom. I guess my love towards voluntarism was more based on economics, but that's not very rock and roll.
You're right. Well, yeah, but thank you for for being so open about your beliefs and sharing it with us, because I think a lot of people will resonate, obviously, with the ideas. I mean, hey, you are the Spain representative of Liberland.
Yeah, I'm very interested also in finding ways to solve complex social problems by giving more freedom instead of less. And I was looking for, before I came across Liberland, I was looking in for ways to making a change in the world, doing positive things. I'm looking for a peaceful evolution towards more freedom rather than less. I think Liberland was a nice project to spend my time with that's been very rewarding for me. And I think it's a great way of spreading this message of how we can solve these complex social problems without having to create government agencies or more taxes. We can find solutions to complex problems that involve giving more freedom rather than less.
Right. Yep. And it's all based in love, the non-aggression principle.
Yeah, exactly. And I was listening to another podcast a few years ago. Tom Woods was on the Lou Rockwell show. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And he was talking about the abolition of slavery. And we learned in government education camps that Abraham Lincoln wrote a law and freed the slaves. But they were offering a different interpretation, that saying that slavery would have been abolished eventually anyway, as it was all around the world. So he talked about the abolition of slavery in Brazil. In 1884, there was one state that had, for ethical reasons, they decided that they were going to abolish slavery, but they said they weren't going to let any runaway slaves come in. But anyone in the state, they weren't going to allow it for ethical reasons. But they weren't talking to anybody else. And within a few years, all of the fugitive slaves laws were largely ignored, and all the slaves were just packing into this one state, and it became difficult for the state. But also there was an economic reason that people who in the other states, it wasn't economically viable to keep slaves, because there was just a risk of them leaving. So all of a sudden they just abolished slavery within the whole country. And it was just done somewhat voluntarily. This was just one area was a good example of establishing a social order that was going from less freedom to more freedom, and everybody else followed suit. And then I think that was the first place around the world that was within the big slave trader states, and all of a sudden basically all of them fell. And so that was a way of going from less freedom to more freedom. And I think Liberland could have that possibility if we can build this country and show that we can run a state with voluntary taxes, decentralized government, and have it be economically prosperous as well as peaceful. Then it's going to be a good example for the rest of the world to go from less freedom to more freedom. And that's where I'm looking forward to in the future for Liberland.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that example. It again shows the infectious capabilities of the idea of freedom, what it really has. You can even look at what's going on right now with the birth and the development of the internet. That's opened up a lot more freedom in certain aspects for people. I mean, I guess even for us connecting and doing this interview right now, for us being involved with Liberland, it's
the governments of the world are trying to control that, and they're trying to use all kinds of excuses, saying, "Oh, it's we're going to protect the children, or we're going to protect our intellectual property, or we need to protect free speech by regulating the internet." So they find all these things, and so. Is it even? They're not going to find a way.
Is it even free speech at that point, right? Yeah. No. Yeah. That's true. And then the more modern version of the internet, even more modern, as if the internet's not, is the development of blockchain and cryptocurrency again, which is at the core foundation of the creation of Liberland. So I know that's one thing I'm excited to see us do, setting an example for the world. Is this is how you can also run a government through blockchain.
Absolutely. I had the chance to participate a bit in some of the documents that they were reviewing for the Constitution, also the ICO for the country, and they put in a good example that really opened my eyes. Like the country's registry for cars, for example, will be in the blockchain, and so some other country wants to send some other country. There's no reason to have a monopoly for the registry of cars,
right?
And there's no reason to keep all of that separate from everybody else. And so everybody else within the blockchain, it's just a freer way of registering cars, which there is a practical need for.
Yeah.
But you don't need to have a government monopoly that says, okay, you can register a car and you can't. You can have rules, but you don't need to put a chain around the link, around the neck of that registry. And so that can be extended to all aspects of government.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. All right. I got a couple more questions here for you, Conrad. We're going to wrap it up. The first one is, what advice do you have for aspiring Liberlandians? Maybe someone who's listening to this interview and just finding out about Liberland for the first time. They want to get involved.
My advice would be to sign up for citizenship now and to reach out to your local office to see if you can help. Another thing I've learned along the way is building your own country is not so easy.
Right.
It's quite complex. We have quite a few challenges. We have challenges getting along with both Croatia and Serbia, both recognizing Liberland. Getting your local areas to your local governments to recognize Liberland would be helpful. And also just creating a community of of Liberlanders in your local area. It's been working here in Spain, and I think there's a lot more room for improvement and growth. And you could do the same place wherever you're living. You can reach out to like-minded people and have a lot of fun along the way.
Absolutely. And one more call to action. I know Gregor Kochar and I covered this in the last episode, but simply, if you reach out to your state or your country and you see that, wait a second, there is no Liberland representation here, that could be you. So, reach out to someone who can get you plugged in, but realize, we're looking for representation all around the world, and it very well could be you sitting there listening to this podcast right now.
It could be. I would have never thought that I would be the representative of a country, but it's been a lot of fun along the way. So
exactly,
so definitely, and it's meet a lot. It's a very good networking opportunity to meet lots of interesting people, and I've enjoyed meeting everyone, and I'm looking forward to meeting more.
In general, Conrad, where do you see Liberland in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I see the ICO coming up this year, so it's been taking a little bit longer than expected, but I believe that that's going to come out this year. And I also see Croatia and Serbia both recognizing the land, so neither one has made any claims to this land. They're not disputing over it. And I can see a better relationship with Liberland with both the people of Croatia and Serbia. There was a recent study saying that the creation of Liberland would raise the GDP in both countries. I think that a lot of our efforts are going to be focused into winning over hearts and minds of the people in those countries. And that's something that we can look forward to. And also a lot more river steading technology in Liberland. So they already have houseboats, and there's now a restaurant that just purchased close to the coast of Liberland. And I can see lots of events going on there on the river, and pretty soon I would see within the next year or two that we could be building on the actual 7 square kilometers that are there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much going on, so many exciting things happening with Liberland in 2019, and I'm expecting another spark in the fire to ignite here after Anarchapulco, which is coming up in the middle of this month, a pretty big gathering of free minds all around the world. So we'll see what kind of more fuel to the fire we can get for Liberland from there. But it's all just, as you mentioned, really exciting to see it all come together. And if you want any updates on Liberland and what's going on, go to our website, liberland.org. Check out the news panel. I mean, there's something new, I think, every day on there, and it's again very captivating.
There's something else I could see coming in the future. Is there's also other parts of the world that are willing to let Liberland have a little parcel of land that they could call Liberland, and there could be more little Liberlands all around the world and competing Liberlands. So I think when people see that this can work, I think we'll see lots of other small freer nations starting to free up. So that would be my prediction for the next 5 years.
We love it. Well, Conrad, thank you for joining us. Do you have any closing remarks before we wrap up the interview?
No, thanks for having me on, and live and let live.
Amen. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. This has been episode 15 of the Liberland Show with Conrad Freeman. I'm your host, Adam J. Carswell, and we will catch you in the next episode.